What do you think? Which one is the best? Human eye or camera lenses? Okay, let's find out. Some questions might come in your mind. Why can't I just point my camera at what I'm seeing and record that? It's a seemingly simple question. It's also one of the most complicated to answer, and requires delving into not only how a camera records light, but also how and why our eyes work the way they do. Tackling such questions can reveal surprising insights about our everyday perception of the world, in addition to making one a better photographer. Our eyes are able to look around a scene and dynamically adjust based on subject matter, whereas cameras capture a single still image. This trait accounts for many of our commonly understood advantages over cameras. For example, our eyes can compensate as we focus on regions of varying brightness, can look around to encompass a broader angle of view, or can alternately focus on objects at a variety of distances. However, the end result is akin to a video camera, not a stills camera, that compiles relevant snapshots to form a mental image. A quick glance by our eyes might be a fairer comparison, but ultimately the uniqueness of our visual system is unavoidable because what we really see is our mind's reconstruction of objects based on input provided by the eyes, not the actual light received by our eyes. Overview of differences. This tutorial groups comparisons into the following visual categories: angle of view, resolution and detail, sensitivity and dynamic range. The above are often understood to be where our eyes and cameras differ the most, and are usually also where there is the most disagreement. Other topics might include depth of field, stereo vision, white balancing and color gamut, but these won't be the focus of this tutorial. 1. Angle of view with cameras. This is determined by the focal length of the lens, along with the sensor size of the camera. For example, a telephoto lens has a longer focal length than a standard portrait lens, and thus encompasses a narrower angle of view. Unfortunately, our eyes aren't this straightforward. Although the human eye has a focal length of approximately 22 millimeters, this is misleading because the back of our eyes are curved. 2. The periphery of our visual field contains progressively less detail than the center, and 3. The scene we perceive is the combined result of both eyes. Each eye individually has anywhere from a 120 to 200 degrees angle of view, depending on how strictly one defines objects as being seen. Similarly, the dual eye overlap region is around 130 degrees, or nearly as wide as a fisheye lens. However, for evolutionary reasons, our extreme peripheral vision is only useful for sensing motion and large-scale objects, such as a lion pouncing from your side. Furthermore, such a wide angle would appear highly distorted and unnatural if it were captured by a camera. 2. Resolution and detail. Most current digital cameras have 520 megapixels, which is often cited as falling far short of our own visual system. This is based on the fact that at 2020 vision, the human eye is able to resolve the equivalent of a 52-megapixel camera, assuming a 60 degrees angle of view. However, such calculations are misleading. Only our central vision is 2020, so we never actually resolve that much detail in a single glance. Away from the center, our visual ability decreases dramatically, such that by just 20 degrees off-center our eyes resolve only 1/10 as much detail. At the periphery, we only detect large-scale contrast and minimal color. Important differences with how our eyes resolve detail include asymmetry. Each eye is more capable of perceiving detail below our line of sight than above, and their peripheral vision is also much more sensitive in directions away from the nose than towards it. Cameras record images almost perfectly symmetrically. Low-light viewing. In extremely low light, such as under moonlight or starlight, our eyes actually begin to see in monochrome. Under such situations, our central vision also begins to depict less detail than just off-center. Many astrophotographers are aware of this, and use it to their advantage by staring just to the side of a dim star if they want to be able to see it with their unassisted eyes. Subtle gradations. Too much attention is often given to the finest detail resolvable, but subtle tonal gradations are also important, and happen to be where our eyes and cameras differ the most. With a camera, enlarged detail is always easier to resolve, but counterintuitively, enlarged detail might actually become less visible to our eyes. In the example below, both images contain texture with the same amount of contrast, but this isn't visible in the image to the right because the texture has been enlarged. Last but not the least, number 3. Sensitivity and dynamic range. Dynamic range is one area where the eye is often seen as having a huge advantage. If we were to consider situations where our pupil opens and closes for different brightness regions, then yes, our eyes far surpass the capabilities of a single camera image, and can have a range exceeding 24 f-stops. However, in such situations our eye is dynamically adjusting like a video camera, so this arguably isn't a fair comparison. Conclusions. In further reading, one might contend that whether a camera is able to beat a human eye is inconsequential, because cameras require a different standard. They need to make realistic-looking prints. A printed photograph doesn't know which regions the eye will focus on, so every portion of a scene would need to contain maximal detail, just in case that's where we'll focus. This is especially true for large or closely viewed prints. However, one could also contend that it's still useful to put a camera's capabilities in context. Overall, most of the advantages of our visual system stem from the fact that our mind is able to intelligently interpret the information from our eyes, whereas with a camera, all we have is the raw image. Even so, current digital cameras fare surprisingly well, and surpass our own eyes for several visual capabilities. The real winner is the photographer who is able to intelligently assemble multiple camera images, thereby surpassing even our own mental image. Comment down below how was the video, and support us by subscribing our channel and hit a like on this video. Suggest us the topics that you want to learn and see our future videos. Thanks for watching.